One Piece, Prince Charles, and Reptilians. Okay, this sounds insane. I'm about to link One Piece, yes, One Piece the anime, with the royal family, with the concept of reptilians. Follow with me, guys. Listen, I'm doing this whole, it's going to be an ongoing thing. So the videos are always going to be in the One Piece explaining the world thing folder, which will be linked in the description box. So if you want to figure out about all of that, go in there. Today I want to talk about, listen, I've been saying how I feel like One Piece literally just explains the world as it is as itself. And since the last time I did some videos, I've been thinking a little bit, obviously I'm still deep diving into all of it. I've been thinking a lot about how one of the things I said, which I didn't really say completely correctly, which I want to correct myself and be clear in saying, is that I said that the world government, right, in the world government is forged of, there's the 20 people from the 20 different kingdoms. Now, I mentioned in there that there's these what they call royals or saints, if you will, who are untouchable. These guys, they get to do whatever they want to do. They enslave people. They have all the people of all the different tribes and races and everything in all of One Piece. Doesn't matter, whoever you are, whatever you are, if they want you in any way, shape or form, want to do anything to you, they can. If they see you and just because they saw you and you irritated their face, they can just, with the order immediately, you're shot, you're dead. They're they can do no wrong, and they have this position specifically because they are known to be descendants of the original 20 that established this whole world government, where I mentioned how there's a throne. No one sits on the ultimate throne, also somebody actually does. But the agreement, though, all that time ago, was these 20 kingdoms at the time. All the different kings and queens came together, put their swords in front of the throne together and left it there to say, we're saying this to say no king or queen will sit above everybody else. We will all just kind of rule together. So the descendants of that original family, they make up these saints. Now in One Piece, they are identified because they're in these what look like space suits, which I don't think that is by accident, but we'll come into why that I think that matters at another point, right? But they wear these things that look like space suits, and they got these bubbles around their heads, and literally they just basically look like space suits. The reasoning in the show is that they can't breathe the same air as the peasants and whatnot. Now here's the thing, and this is all going to still link back to Noah's Ark. This is what's funny, the times of Noah. So in all of this, right, one of the saints is called Saint. I was thinking about the royal family, and I was thinking about how I've done a lot of research into the origin histories of the different nations in the world. And a lot of the origin histories of a lot of nations, I can tell you off the top of my head, say Rome, there was two gods. They were I think they were demigods. Rome, and one of them was called Roman, and the other one was called something else starting with an R. And essentially, when they descended onto the place now known as Rome, or where was a lot different, when that actually happened. One of them, basically, they were twin brothers, but they were half gods. This is where we're going. These half gods, these are the demigods or full gods, right? That people descended from, right? At this certain whatever. Just run with me. But anyway, apparently they descended, and one kills the other. This is obviously mythology, right? Mythology. And one brother kills the other brother. One brother was dealing with one side and the other was dealing with the other side. Anyways, one kills the other. And then that leaves Roman, who then called the place Rome after himself. And hence, the descendants of that and all of that and what came from that, that came through, this demigod, right? There's believed in a lot of the East Asian dynasties. I'm not sure if it's Japan or if it's China. I think it's Japan, that even the royal dynasties, again, the earliest royal dynasties descended from some kind of, again, demigod. That's how you see all over the world in lots of different cultures. If you look historically into those particular people, there was some kind of creature that there was some kind of creature that they descended from, if that makes sense. Or that they're connected to, similar to how, you got the Chinese and the dragon situation and so on. and so forth, right? I'm going somewhere with this and what this has to do with us in the world today. So in One Piece, because I started to think about the royal family here, and there's obviously people have suggested like, oh, about reptilians and whatnot and what have you, and I have a thought about that. In One Piece, right, one of the kings now of One Piece, ironically, is called Saint Carlos, which I thought that's interesting. Sounds really similar to Charles, actually. And it made me think a little bit. Because if they're the descendants that were there at the last time of the cataclysm that happened after there was a flood and the sea rose, even in One Piece, in the world in One Piece, the sea rose and places were taken over, and then a bunch of people came together to figure out what we were going to do, and then a world government was established, just like I feel has happened. Because one of my questions that I ask the Lord often is, how the heck, let's ask him all together right now, Lord, because you guys, you know, when I ask God questions in front of you, you know that I always end up discovering the answers together. So Lord, please explain to us how the governments came together at the times just after the flood. Please guide us into that information. So guys, buckle up, because I'm sure he'll answer us. You guys know how this goes. You've been here. A lot of you have been here for long enough to know that. He gonna answer. But yeah, so the governments all came together, right? And this is why I think, by the way, the reason why I think that a lot of these animes depict this type of stuff is because these countries, people actually believe in this stuff. Like a lot of these festivals you see and all of these things that they do, a lot of it's to do with a historical worship of whatever gods, or an ode or tribute to the gods that founded these lands, and this, that, and the other. Similar to like what I said to you guys about the Native Americans and the feathers and the things that they do. Lots of different like tribes of different things, and certain things that they do. Even in Africa, it's the same thing. Whether people don't realize it in Africa a lot, I can only speak on that more because I'm African myself. But like, people don't realize how many of these songs, how many of these patterns, these animals, these things are linking back to actual gods that were being worshipped, and are now just being worshipped, just so you don't realize you're worshipping them still. But it goes back to that, right? A lot of these customs, like I said, like throwing money into the fountain, right? We all do that. It's all fun. Like, oh, let's throw a coin into the fountain. That is literally what they do. I was listening to a guy who used to be a witch doctor explaining how one of the things he would do to help these leaders, because it was a specific interview that I watched. And in the interview, the guy was saying how he was from Kenya. He decided that he wanted to get into business. He was talking about how he recruited essentially 50 different pastors that he was going to train in witchcraft. And he talks about two specific types of things that they did. We're not going to talk about the first one, that had to do with graves. The second one is he would get them to get money from congregants in their churches, and he would take their money and they would go and throw the money into the seas to sacrifice to the gods in the seas, right? So that's where this even comes from. Historically, that's why people gave gold. And there's places in history in all over the world where people would give a certain amount at certain periods to the gods in the sea so that they wouldn't attack the people. This is what people believed hundreds of years ago. And why has that information all been hidden? Maybe because there could have been, and I'm obviously just talking about One Piece, a situation where, you know, people came together after a certain cataclysm took place, like in the world government, like in One Piece, right? And they saw what happened, and they decided amongst themselves what they were going to do about making sure that this situation can't happen again, or if it does, that they are in control or prepared, whatever it was that they were trying to do, and therefore hide all that history. Hence why in One Piece, if you even try to breathe a word of this 100-year void that no one talks about, what happened in the 100-year void, they will kill you, and they have destroyed literal full-blown islands for the sake of people questioning this 100-year void. Where am I going with that? Where I'm going with that is to say, so it occurred to me that what if that is actually what has happened here in this royal family, and these people are really reptilians, genuinely? Because it's actually possible. We know that historically, these little like the German, Franco, Anglo area, right? We know in a lot of history that these guys all around this Europe area, hence why, you know, everyone's always marrying each other and there's a lot of, you know, whatevers. they try very hard to keep things within the families, and they have this right to the royal throne that's just been passed down for a long time now. Not this hasn't been we've choose the king as the people, whatever. That's a political thing, right? Ironically, though, the king also is now also being the head of the church, also being ahead of the prime minister. So if the King Charles decides to do anything, King Charles can at any point disagree with what Parliament is doing and stop those laws from happening. So although they might just seem like these figureheads, they're really not, which is also important in my opinion, because it just goes to show about this maintenance of power through generations after an event, because it could so be that in this story of all of this, I'm just throwing out theories, you guys, because I just find it fascinating. It could so be in a reality, if the world was like One Piece, but obviously we're just talking about One Piece here, that after the Great Cataclysm from 12,400 years ago, when the so-called sea people arose. Now, let's talk about reptilians, and let's talk about that for a second, reptilians, right? Because one interesting story that I read, and when I was doing research into my very own background, because obviously is the people that I'm related to going to tell me? Absolutely not, because either they probably don't know themselves or we just like to hide secrets, because that is actually one of the most obvious signs of water marine spirits is just this silence thing. Like they are all about the silence. You don't talk about it. If you know about it, but you don't talk about it, they won't probably hurt you. If you know about it and you start talking about it, they will come for you. Right? So that's I believe a lot of the reason is people just don't really want to mess with these things. I get it, but listen, do you believe in Jesus or do you believe in Jesus? Because I believe in Jesus. Like, you don't even believe in Jesus, why you got Jesus piece? You know what I'm saying? So these people, like, so what happened is I was researching about this girl, right? And me and her have a very similar story. She's from Zimbabwe. We have a very similar story in that she comes from a family that let's be wise here without we explain this part. Okay, so she talks about anyways her experience in her family and how she discovered a lot of things, and the things that she was discovering led to her becoming isolated, right? But the part from where she was from in Zimbabwe was actually where closer to Mosi-oa-Tunya, also known as Victoria Falls, which used to be a wonder of the world. I reckon it was probably because of sanctioning that it's no longer one of the seven wonders of the world. It's just interesting how the seven wonders of the world is coming up a lot at the moment. But anyway, so she talks some stories about how she used to see these royal families, like she talked about Charles in particular, coming to do some kind of, I don't know what kind of, I'm sure completely performative, innocent things that in some crazy people's minds would think look like rituals, but obviously that's all just make-believe, right? Because we're talking about One Piece here. And at the waters, the same very waters, which I cannot believe I was there. Just, what? How many years ago is that? 7 years ago. On this very same waters, the Zambezi River, right? Which is between Zimbabwe and Zambia. And the one where we've seen mermaids. You can literally search on YouTube right now and you can see them for yourself. Like, this isn't like, I'm saying the times of Noah, the waters, like, I'm telling you guys, I'm just saying. It's just, I just find it crazy how things that are like literally thousands of years apart, cultures that are completely different, Japanese, British, African, whatever, can all have just so much in common like this. Right? It's just insane, right? And just be like saying similar things, because like the One Piece story, the story this girl's saying, you know what I'm saying? And how I found her stories, it was like some back door in the back of Beyond of the internet where like no one's really going to find it. There's probably like maybe like 50 people in the world who've even read this, because no one is obviously going to be as pushed aside as possible. But obviously I do the deep diving, and I know what I'm looking for. So I know how to search because I already, anyway, I digress. But you guys get the gist. So it occurred to me that what if they genuinely, through generations after generations, have been continuing these traditions with whatever these water spirits that they've been dealing with, right, from the beginning, that their lineage came from, that could be reptilians, led us to them today. Just a thought, just a theory. based off of One Piece. You know, I like to, like I said, we're just talking about One Piece. So yeah, and it's just funny because according to One Piece, that tracks. That's what makes me think that's what happened in One Piece. Because I'm also trying to figure out what's going to happen in One Piece. That's the crazy thing. One Piece is showing this, but I'm also trying to figure out what's coming next. So I'm like, oh, I'm obsessed, right? And so I'm now also thinking, okay, if this is where we're at here, right, in One Piece, we understand this so far. So what if whatever those 20 kingdoms were that were there at the time, what if they descended as well from these similar things? Because let's not forget, one of the kingdoms we know has one of the weapons, Poseidon, right? Which we know is a member of the Fishman race. Well, they're not a descendant, so because hold up. I've just realized something because Shirahoshi, who is the princess in the fish pirates, she's the ancient weapon Poseidon, who can command the Sea Kings. That's their name, by the way. They're not sea beasts, the Sea Kings, which are the giant, like, Megalodon, Kraken, Loch Ness, you name it, Hydra type creatures in the waters, which obviously have been there for a very, very long time to have got so big. Maybe 12,400 years, who knows, we'll see. But One Piece. But so she's there, and then I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm thinking. Hold on. Actually, no, I'll just think my thoughts while I'm here. What I'm thinking is all of the nations, the nations where they have the ancient weapons, and the use of the word weapon, are the ones with lineages where there's already some kind of power in the bloodline. So, I've just flipped my whole idea that I just spent 15 minutes explaining on its head. Because, wait a minute, because this is what I'm thinking, right? You have the land of Wano, they're all the samurai, whatever. They have like their special like powers and whatever that they do. They have an ancient weapon. You have, I believe is it in Alabasta? I don't think it's in Alabasta. We don't know where the third ancient weapon is. And then the other ancient weapon is in Fishman Island. So that's another descended thing, that there's always going to be a descendant from the Fishman that's going to become Poseidon. The world government isn't one of these. Oh, I'm going to have to do deep dive, you guys. Because I'm trying to think, is it that the world government comes down through there? Or the world government has members that are descendants of these races with these special powers? Or is it that the government was trying to control the races with the special powers? Because they could be lying. Because if they lie and believe and convince everybody that they're the descendants, then it gives everybody reason to why they can say that they deserve to be in those positions when actually it's a lie. And that could be the lie. Because if you're trying to work out why are they so obsessed with this. Anyways, guys, you're just going to have to buckle up and wait and see. I guess you know what I'm going to be doing this weekend. Because it's Saturday, it's the Sabbath still. Is why you see how my videos hit different in the Sabbath. Anybody who watches this, if you on my channel, please in the comments just affirm the fact that my videos hit different on the Sabbath. When I record videos within the Sabbath period, my videos hit different. But yeah, I've got to figure this out. Because that connects me to the world and the world history, you see? And this is why I think people like Oda are smart. Because, certain things, they can't be said because they could be censored. They could go against community guidelines of certain sites and things, But you know what doesn't? Entertainment and myths and fables. And maybe, just maybe, there were some intelligent people, both in the past and in the present, who realized that the only way that they were going to be able to show the truth about life is through art itself. So I'm just saying. Anyways, if life's a game, it's paid to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.